Today I want to share with you 4 common ways trauma survivors share their stories and how you can too. There's more than one way to do this. Maybe you're looking at me or another professional speaker saying, Brian, I can never stand in front of 10,000 people or 200 people and give a speech, talk about my story. That's one way to do it, but it's not the only way to do it. And in today's episode, I'm going to tell you 4 different really common ways that people share their stories, that trauma survivors in particular share their stories so they can move forward in life and make a difference and even an income doing so if they choose to. And don't forget to grab your free 7-step Share Your Story roadmap by going to UseYourStory.com. At UseYourStory.com, that free resource is there. It's a simple, very easy to follow 7-step roadmap, the Share Your Story roadmap, which shows you baby steps you can take to get from where you are to where you want to be, sharing your story and making a difference in the world. And you can go at your own pace. There's no pressure. You can do what you're comfortable with. Take your own baby steps. It's awesome. It's what I wish I would have had when I was starting out about 15 years ago as a speaker. But I didn't. So I created this. Now it's a 1-page PDF accompanied by one very short video that tells you exactly what to do to take your first or next step in sharing your story. So the first way to share your story is the most common one that I'm acquainted with, and that is as a paid professional speaker. Now there's a lot that goes into that. We have programs at useyourstory.com that we're always developing, building more of for you so you can invest in those and move forward in life and develop and become better and all that. But you can make a difference as a paid professional speaker, getting up on stage, giving keynote speeches, or doing workshops in front of anywhere from 10 or 20 to 200 people or more. Keynotes that can range from any number of people. And it's the biggest, most popular way that you generally tend to hear about. And that's not for everybody, but it is for a lot of people. And a lot of people who think it's not for them end up realizing that it actually is for them once they see the impact and the difference it's making in people's lives when they end up sharing that way. Some great examples of people who do this are, well, yours truly, number one, me. I've been speaking for 15 years as a keynote speaker. You know, if you go to blownupguy.com, that's my website, you can see all the stuff I've been doing. Or if you go to Google and you just type in Brian Fleming, Blown Up Guy, I basically own the first 10 pages of Google with those keywords, and you'll see stuff all the way back to 2007 up to the present day of me speaking, traveling, being featured in different articles, and me using my story to help other people in a bunch of different ways. And so it's important who you learn from, by the way, has a track record, has an internet history. This isn't what today's video is about, but I always do caution new speakers from learning from people who their only internet presence is as a speaker trainer or public speaking program or course, but they have no internet history of them actually being a speaker. That's a big deal. So at this point in life, the internet's been around long enough. You can tell if somebody knows what they're talking about through experience or if they're just trying to sell you something. And that's not me. And again, you can go back and you can look all through the internet and Google, and you can see me all the way from 2007 all the way up to the present day. And I just want to help people like me, trauma survivors. And another good example of a keynote speaker is the guy who got me into doing it, Dave Reaver. Injured Vietnam veteran and horribly injured, became an author and speaker. He met me while I was in the hospital. He taught me how to do it, how to use my story. That's why I call the program Use Your Story. That's what he taught me how to do. It changed my life, and it's helped a lot of other people. My buddy Brad Heron, his car blew up when he was making meth when he was in high school, and he was burned horribly. And he goes around and he does a ton of great speeches every year for high schools and youth audiences about not doing drugs. He's fully burned on something like 80% of his body, third degree, and he's used his story. My buddy Jason Redmond, Navy SEAL, got shot about 9 times in Iraq, has a crazy trauma overcoming story, and amazing guy with an amazing wife and an amazing family, a true success story. And not everybody has to be military, but I just happen to know a lot of military men and women because I used to be military myself. Another really popular, super mega popular person you've probably heard of is Nick Vujicic. I've met Nick a few times. Seems like a really great guy. And he was born with no arms and no legs in Australia. and now he goes all over the world and speaks. And just another example, if a guy with no arms and no legs can get up and talk about his struggles and his lessons and use them to help other people, you definitely can too. My buddy BJ Jackson is another one. He's an Iraq war veteran. He was in the Army infantry, Iraq war veteran, and he got both his legs blown off when his vehicle ran over a bomb in the road, and it took both his legs off. It came straight up through the floor, and he has 2 prosthetic legs now. He's been speaking for years, sharing his story. And all these people have something in common too. They have a story of something that happened to them, but that's only the foundation of what they're actually teaching. What they're actually teaching are the lessons they learned through all those struggles that apply to your life or someone else's life that can help them win the battle they're facing. And that's really the biggest reason and the only reason you should have as your biggest motivation for sharing your story, by the way, is to help somebody else win their battles that they're facing. And lastly, my friend Chad Williams, he was a Navy SEAL as well, just like Jay Redman. And he's been speaking longer than I have. And he goes around sharing his story of what he learned in the SEAL teams. So these are paid professional speakers. We get paid to go give speeches. That's one great way of doing it, because you can actually help people and get paid for it by organizations who have budgets to pay speakers. And again, there's more about that in the Use Your Story program. If you don't know what that is, just go to useyourstory.com and sign up for the free 7-step share your story roadmap. And you had a brain fart right there. Get that, and that'll get you on the list where I will send you information when that's available for you. We don't let everybody in, but we will send you that information when the time is right. And if the time's right for you, you can learn how to do it that way as well. The second way to share your story is as an online content creator. Now, I've only done a little bit of this. This isn't my exact way of doing it. I mainly go and I give live speeches, like I've said previously, but you can write a blog. You can create a blog around your story. More importantly, not around your story, but around the lessons that you learn through your story. Your story is just a really foundational credibility piece that the lessons that apply to other people stand upon. So there's blogs, there's podcasts, there's YouTube channels, whatever it is you want to talk about or teach or share, you can create an online presence, a channel or a podcast or whatever around that as a way to help target people who also deal with what you've been through and help them get through what they're going through as well. The third way to share your story is as what I call a local peer mentor. Let's say you're part of a social group or a community group in your neighborhood, in your town, or maybe it's at your church, and you lead a group that is focused on overcoming maybe a particular kind of trauma. Maybe you're not a mental health professional, you don't need to be, but you just sort of create a space or you help lead a space that exists already around helping people overcome a particular kind of trauma that maybe you have experience with, that you've had happen in your own life. And this probably isn't a paid gig, something you're making money on, but it's more of a passion project or a hobby, something you do because you feel led to do it, because you understand and know the battle that some of these people are facing, and you're, to some extent, a little further down the road than them. And even if you're not completely out of the woods yet, or you still struggle, if you are at least a few steps further down the path of healing than they are, you have a ton of value you can offer to them. And so being what I call a local peer mentor, that's a great way for you to start sharing your story and, more importantly, the lessons that you learn that can help other people win. And the fourth and final way I'm going to share with you today, and there are more ways, but these are 4 common ways. The fourth way to share your story is as a nonprofit leader. A lot of trauma survivors, when they start sharing their stories, it's really common that they tend to create nonprofit organizations around a cause that fights the injustice that was done to them that hurt them, and to defend those other people who have been through that same pain, and to help those people, again, overcome those struggles, win those battles, all that collateral damage that was created in their life because of the trauma they went through. And there are a ton of great examples around this. Again, the guy who mentored me into speaking, Dave Reaver, he's had multiple nonprofits over the years, from education programs in foreign countries to Christian nonprofit ministries for churches to nonprofit high school assembly programs, all kinds of stuff. My buddy Jay Redmond, at one point, he had the Combat Wounded Coalition, and they were helping combat wounded military service members like myself. That's how I met him. Then there's my buddy Chad Robichaux. He and I co-authored my book Redeployed together years back. One of the best books I've ever written. And he created what's called the Mighty Oaks Foundation. And a super, super successful, highly effective nonprofit helping combat veterans win the war at home, fighting the battles with post-traumatic stress and reintegrating back into society, your marriage, your family, relationship. One of the absolute best, most effective programs, period, that exists for veterans. And that came out of Chad's own struggle after coming home, almost losing his own family due to his struggles and the mental battles he was facing and a lot of the faith issues that played a role in that, or the lack of faith that he had in his life at the time. And he also sometimes, a lot of it talks about how faith played a very integral, critical role in his recovery and keeping his family together and moving forward productively in life. That's what they talk about, and that's what they teach. And it's solid teaching. It's really good. Even the military brings him and his trainers in on orders to speak to the troops, and they send their troops to his programs all around the country on orders. And so that is just a huge testament to the effectiveness of a program created by a guy who had his own traumas after something like 8 or 9 deployments to Afghanistan, and all kinds of really bad stuff that happened in his life. And another awesome example, a guy I met earlier this year, and he's become kind of a friend, more of an acquaintance right now, but his name is Richard Casper, and he created an organization called Creative Vets. After he got home from Iraq, he had some injuries, he had lost some friends, and he found there was healing in music and art. And so after getting out of the Marine Corps, he created the organization called Creative Vets, which, if you've heard my recent song that was just released on the 4th of July called Walked Through Hell, if you go to walkedthroughhell.com, it'll go straight to their YouTube channel to that song, and you can hear it. They actually set me up with some of the best songwriters in Nashville. Flew me up there. They wrote a song about my life. We co-wrote it together. Then we went to a studio, had it fully produced, and in just a few months, the actual track is out. Like, the song is out, and it's a professionally produced song about my life, which that is just one of the coolest experiences I've ever had. But what's even better is not just it's a song about my life, but it's the fact that when people hear that song called Walk Through Hell, when they hear the lyrics in the song, when they hear it, they actually think of their own lives. They see themselves in it, which is a really powerful testament to a great song. And so these are 4 different ways that you can share your story and make a difference in the world. So think about this. How can you share your story? Which way is best for you to start right now? I have the list right here. Is it as a paid professional speaker, or is it as an online content creator, a podcast, a blog, maybe a local peer mentor in a local group that you're a part of, or maybe it's as a nonprofit leader? And don't forget, go to UseYourStory.com and get that free 7-step Share Your Story roadmap. UseYourStory.com. It's going to show you 7 baby steps to start sharing your story effectively, moving forward in life, and making a real difference in the world with your story. Just go to UseYourStory.com.